Just people have different John, Jon, Joh.
I have a spiritual name too. It's it's Gyana Gamya. It's JNANAGAMYA and then space, capital D.
D as in dog?
Dog, yeah. ASA.
Yeah. I'm going to just do an underscore right there so I remember that there's actually a space right there.
Cool.
Do you mind just off the bat giving me a little bit more background about the spiritual name?
Spiritual name.
How did you come to that?
Yeah, so I am a practicing Hare Krishna.
Awesome.
And we go through a process called initiation where you're formally confirmed into the faith, sort of like communion in Catholicism. And I served as a monk for 2 years.
Okay.
And was formally initiated in India 2 years ago. And my name means one who is on the path of knowledge, or one who is seeking knowledge. And the Das means the servant of. It's a Sanskrit word.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, we're super interested in exploring different beliefs that people have about the world. Is there anything specific to you that you truly believe with a lot of confidence that has an influence on your life? Anything to do with Hare Krishna?
Oh yeah,
or I mean, I figured that, but I wanted to leave it open in case you wanted to talk about something else. But.
I mean, my faith is we're lacto-vegetarians, but I'm a vegan. I strongly believe in not harming animals for sustenance, and I've been a vegetarian for about 6 or 7 years, and I've been a vegan for about 2 years. I just kind of took it to the next level. I actually get a lot of flack from some of the devotees for that because, well, they believe that milk is like a critical ingredient in brain development and things like that, but
so vegan except for milk for them, essentially.
Yeah, they don't do fish, eggs, or meat, but they can do
dairy, milk, dairy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, interesting. So, if you don't mind me just clarifying real quick with vegan, you said you're a vegan because you don't believe you're for not harming animals for sustenance.
Correct.
Now, if you can obtain animal products and sustenance without harming animals, like let's say growing meat in a laboratory or something like that, or growing fur in a petri dish or something, would you be in favor of that, or would even that consumption of animal products without harming or institutional or systemic violence still be something you're not in favor of?
I would suppose that it would depend on what sort of methods that they used in order to replicate.
Okay, like get the stem cell?
Right, yeah. I'm kind of on the fence about that one because I haven't really done a lot of thinking about that. I suppose if there was no actual harm done to any of the animals, then I'm okay with it. Like, for instance, I eat a lot of the mock meats like seitan and tempeh and things like that. Okay. They taste delicious.
Yeah.
But no animal was harmed in order to get
produce it.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that.
Okay.
There's some people that are real hard line. They're like, if it looks like meat and it tastes like meat, then,
that's what I was curious.
So yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, with the Hare Krishna, that's not a practice or tradition that I'm entirely familiar with. I've got a little bit of surface knowledge of it, but within that practice, is there do they hold any particular beliefs about the world that would be unique to Hare Krishnas, where that particular group would believe these things as opposed to other groups?
Well, many of the schools of thought in Buddhism are very similar to Hare Krishna and Hinduism because they came from that. Buddha is actually an incarnation of Krishna who was sent to deceive atheistic men from misusing the Vedas, because there's actually prescription for animal sacrifice in the Vedas, believe it or not. But people were misusing that to eat meat, essentially. Like how they did in the Bible, where they would have like burnt offerings and things like that. That was like your prayers to God. That was before like Jesus and the Messiahs and whatnot came along. That was how they
had a relationship.
Right. So that was kind of the thing that they did. But then that practice became antiquated.
Okay.
And so there were people that were saying, "Oh, but it's in here, so we're going to still use that in order to fulfill our own selfish desires." And Buddha comes and says, "Wait a second, hang on, follow me, guys. Don't believe any of this bullshit." But really, he was, he was Krishna, and he was basically transcendentally tricking them, so to speak. So
I like that word, transcendentally tricking them.
Yeah, so he did it for a higher purpose. But as far as views that are unique,
well, if you don't mind me just exploring real quick, you mentioned that Buddha or the Bodhisattvas, the Buddha that you're referring to was an incarnation of Krishna.
Correct.
Can you just explain real quick what you mean by that?
So there's what's called a Shaktavesha avatar, and I don't even know if I can spell that.
I'm just going to do avatar. Don't worry. That I can spell.
Yeah, there's what's called different avatars of Krishna, which an avatar, a Shaktavesha avatar specifically, is somebody that descends from a specific to a specific point for a specific time for a specific purpose. Like Buddha was one of those. Muhammad, Christ.
Okay,
you know, some
these
people,
big figures.
Yeah,
okay.
Some people would argue like Haile Selassie, where were we going with that? What was it,
so you had mentioned that the Buddha was an incarnation of Krishna.
Correct.
And so by incarnation of Krishna, what exactly do you mean? First of all, with Krishna, are you saying like a literal entity that is Krishna, or is it more of a metaphorical type thing?
No, yeah, absolutely, like a literal entity, somebody that is, manifests himself in a different form, much like in the Old Testament with the Bible, how God manifests himself as like a burning bush. Okay. So different shades of the same color, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay, and so then if we could just explore real quick the aspect of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
How so with Krishna, just to make sure that I have an understanding of what Krishna is for you. Krishna is before I go any further, do you mind just explaining in a little bit more detail what Krishna means to you? Like, first, I'm familiar with some people ascribing God qualities to it. I don't know what. So, like I said, some people have talked about it being completely metaphorical. How would it be for you?
Oh, well, no, Krishna is absolutely, in my belief system, is God.
Okay.
He's commonly referred to in the Vedas as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, meaning that he is... Krishna is actually an avatar of Vishnu. He's the 8th avatar of Vishnu, but he's one and the same. He's like, Vishnu is like, this is how it was described to me. Vishnu is like Krishna when he's at work, and then Krishna is a cowherd boy that just plays and like has friends and wives, and just he's kind of a happy-go-lucky type character. But he is God, and he has different manifestations. Like Shiva and Brahma, they're all...
Okay, I've heard of some of those.
They're part of what's called the Trimurti, Krishna, Vishnu being the maintainer, Shiva being the destroyer, and Brahma being the creator. Yeah, okay, yeah, so you know.
Okay, yeah, just a little familiar. So,
yeah.
So with Krishna being, for you, the idea of God, how confident, if we were to talk about the existence of Krishna, how confident would you say you are in Krishna's actual literal existence? If we were to use a scale of like 0 to 100, where 100 is you're 100% confident, there's no way you can be mistaken, and 0 is 0% confidence that you can there's a high chance that you probably are mistaken, where would you put yourself on that scale?
Absolutely 100%.
100% as in you cannot be mistaken?
I cannot, yeah.
Okay, and what is putting you at that 100%?
Well, I guess it all relates to personal experience, because when I first heard about the Hare Krishnas, it was in high school, and I listened to a lot of the Krishna core bands like 108, Shelter, the Cro-Mags, things like that.
Nice.
And I always thought it was like kind of unusual that all these like kind of like New York tough guy type bands would ascribe to a religion where the people danced around in the airports in bed sheets and things like that. This is bizarre to me, so
crazy.
It didn't make any sense to me. And then I was actually in the Marine Corps, and I was getting ready to fly to Japan, and some of the devotees approached me, and they sold me a book, and I was like, I don't know if I believe all this, whatever. I just gave them some money to pacify them.
Was it like a Bhagavad Gita, or?
No, it was a book called The Journey of Self-Discovery.
Okay.
It's like one of the supplementary books to the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
But yeah, I started to read it, and then I just said, no, I'm not going to read this. It doesn't like really jive with me.
Okay.
And then to make a long story short, I was a Wall Street protester like years later.
Oh, okay.
And then I found that book just kind of like happenstance. Like I got locked out of my house, and I went out to my shed to go like look for a key or just even something to do until somebody came back and unlocked the house. And I found that book because I left it out there. I was like, I'll never read this,
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, here it is, And then I actually read it, and it was like light bulb went off in my head, like everything was just clicking with me. They talk about a lot of things in there, like communism, which I largely ascribe to a lot of socialistic ideals. I think that our country could really benefit from them, and they talk about that in there. But rather than with communism in the secular sense of the word, where it's you're giving everything to the state, it's you're giving everything to Krishna, and you're giving everything back to God. And so that really resonated with me, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. And since I started meditating and practicing with japa, I notice a lot of things like in synchronicity, like things that I ask for and that I pray about, and that just they may not manifest instantly, but I see how Krishna works, and it's amazing. Kind of to complement this too, I read a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and it's kind of a misleading title because a lot of people think it would be like a prosperity type book, which it is, but there's also spiritual, very esoteric type undertones to it too, because the guy that was the author of it, Napoleon Hill, his son was deaf, and they told him his son would never hear. And he said, I don't believe that, and I don't subscribe to that. And so he started working on a way so that his son would hear again. And he developed some sort of rudimentary technology to where his son was able to regain some of his hearing. And so that was great to me, which that book was also recommended me by HR of the Bad Brains.
And just to clarify, did the technology that he used to get his son to heal again, how did that relate to the existence of Krishna?
So, I have always wanted to be an actor.
Okay.
And I found it to be impossible for me to get out here and just do it,
Okay.
I was like, this is a major milestone, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to make it out here, how I'm going to be able to maintain. I'm still struggling with that,
Yeah, welcome to LA.
Yeah. So, but once I really started just genuinely asking, I was like, and praying for not excess or abundance, but just, things to make me successful and be able to direct me on the right path in life. It started to manifest, and it was given to me. So it was just a simple question of just, I want this is my desire. And they say in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna will fulfill all desires. He might not do it in this lifetime, but he will do it eventually for you.
Okay. And so just to make sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but you believe in the existence of Krishna at 100% because of personal experience. And for you, the personal experience was reading a book that for you, it really, really clicked with you, it really resonated with you, and for you, a light bulb went.
And then I read all the books.
And then you read all the books,
Yeah.
and that further reinforced.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And so just to distinguish, I guess a better way of phrasing it is, how would you distinguish your journey from someone like a Muslim or a Christian, that for them, they believe in the Christian God at 100% because of their personal experience of reading the Bible, and then all of the other books going along with them, and a light bulb clicked with them, and it totally matched everything that they were thinking about, and their prayer, when they pray, they feel like their prayers are answered, and if they're not answered, it's because God has a reason for it.
Yeah.
And similar thing with Islam. So how do you determine, how do you distinguish yours from theirs? Do you think that all of them coexist at the same time, or is one mistaken over the other? Or?
Oh, no, I don't think there is any one path to God.
Okay.
I feel that, and even our scriptures teach about this, they say that, you know, even a little bit of advancement on any sort of path towards a spiritual understanding and relationship is eventually going to get you to the main goal.
Oh, no worries.
Phone?
And we'll wrap up. Sure, I totally have taken more than 5 minutes. Okay, but
I don't mind talking about this. Yeah, no,
fascinating.
It's I don't mind talking about it at all. Yeah, it's yeah, any sort of advancement on any sort of spiritual path that, you know, is obviously rooted in some sort of legitimate scriptures is going to get you there. And my appreciation for other faiths and spiritual backgrounds is actually stronger now because of practicing this. You know, different groups will, you know, they have different ways of believing. I grew up largely a-religious, but then I started going to a Pentecostal church when I was in the South. Yeah,
that's a powerful experience.
And you know, just that particular group, you know, there's one way to God, and that's it, you know. And I'm like, you know, but the way I see it, at least those people, they're trying. You know, they might have kind of a rudimentary understanding of it, you know, and that's not all Christians. That's not all religious groups, you know. Some of them have a very, very tolerant and universal like worldview, and I can appreciate that. I can get behind that. So I think that you know, we all here's some. Okay, let me give you one.
Please.
One way that a friend described it to me, he says, you know, God is like a father, and we're all his children, and we approach, you know, like with my sister and we approach our father in different ways, you know, like whereas my sister's like, oh, I need some money, like I really like, Dad, I need some money, you know, you know, like it's, you know, so it might be.
But you're all talking to the same father.
But we're it's the same father that we're communicating with. We just have different methods of getting in touch with him.
Now, do you think it's possible for someone to read a book, and they read this book, and within this book, let's just say hypothetically that the contents of the book are false or mistaken, or the person's reading this book and they arrive at a false or mistaken conclusion because for them this light bulb, or I guess a better way to phrase it is, do you think it's possible for someone to read a book, have this light bulb go off in them, have them come to this conclusion, and it turns out that this conclusion be mistaken?
I suppose it could. You know, there's definitely been charlatans and you know, people that have been misusing the name of God in order for, you know, some sort of selfish motivation.
So if it could be the case that someone can read a book and consequential books after and have this feeling, have this light bulb go off in them that leads them to a conclusion that could be mistaken, how have you determined that you going through the same process has led you to a conclusion that's not mistaken?
Well, because it's stood the test of time since years. It's been around, at least in writing, for 5,000 years, but the knowledge of the Vedas is actually pretty timeless. So
just to clarify, do you think that just because something can stand the test of time, that adds some weight to its legitimacy or its truth? Or
I would hope so. Yeah.
Well, to maybe phrase it a different way, do you think it's possible for something to stand the test of time and be false or be mistaken?
I suppose that's possible too. You know, just based on my personal experience, you know, it really goes down to faith. There's a lot of science that's involved in it. You know, like Vedic science has determined the time that the universe has existed, and you know, like how far certain stars and planets and galaxies are away from other. This was before modern science had ever discovered these things. So that, you know, the fact that there's actual scientific evidence that backs a lot of what's being said in there, that also lends to the legitimacy of it. But you know, it really starts with you. Like, you have to believe, you know. And I mean, I'm sure there's people that believe that Jim Jones was like the Messiah of the world, you know.
And they would say they used faith to come to that.
There's also different qualities and characteristics of many of the what we call like acharyas in our lineage that they should possess in order for them to be considered like legitimate and relevant, you know. And if these qualities don't exist, like in the
that's a red flag.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a book that we read called the Nectar of Devotion, and one of the things that they mention is the 26 qualities of a devotee. And a devotee should embody
all 26,
or at least, you know, most of them.
So
you know,
not all,
because
it doesn't necessarily need to be.
Well, I mean, you know, we are human and we're flawed and we're material conditioned. So there are people that, you know,
some could be aspirational rather than actually being embodied.
And you know, like the person that led me to Krishna consciousness, he's a great guy. He struggles, you know, like I know he has problems, but that to me lent to kind of the realism of it, you know, because he wasn't pretending to be, you know, something that he wasn't. I just saw him as a friend and as a brother, you know, and so he's like, hey, this helps me, this might help you. And so I said, okay, you know, but I mean, if there's questionable activities that people are doing,
that leads to
i.e. Jim Jones, David Koresh, you know, someone like that, then it's that's up to an individual to determine.
Critical thinking,
right? You know,
makes sense.
Yeah.
To just go back real quick, you mentioned faith. What do you said you said it ultimately boils down to having faith. You just have to have faith. What do you mean by faith? Faith is different for different people.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could. I used to go to 12-step meetings like years ago, and people could have faith in a chair, you know, and say that that's my God. And
so, if you had to give a definition of faith, what would that mean for you?
Definition of faith.
So we can work with something concrete.
I think the best definition of faith would probably be. That's a good question.
No worries. I'll give you a second.
Probably having a higher understanding based on some sort of spiritual or religious teachings. I don't know. It's really hard to say because, you know, faith it's one of those words that's kind of hard to encapsulate because it is different for everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm writing this down just so I can keep track, but don't feel like it's locking you in. If you think of a better way of articulating it, please feel free of you don't have I don't want you to feel like, oh crap, I gave him this definition and now I'm stuck. Type of thing.
It's probably not the best definition.
It's no worries.
Say trust in the unknown.
Okay.
You know, you know, we don't necessarily see Krishna, you know, as far as like you see him like physically, but we see evidence of him, and we have what's called the Archamurti. The Archamurti is a manifestation of Krishna, a physical manifestation of Krishna. It's either in wood, metal, stone, and we have different mantras that we recite in order to, you know, manifest what's called the Shakti, or the energy of the Lord into those things. So that is a way of seeing the Lord, but you know, you see like the evidence of you know, just creation. I mean, how could that be a mistake, you know? Like, how could that just be like a random freak occurrence? Like, I noticed this meme on the internet where somebody did it was like a sandcastle, and it was like, oh yeah, there was this, you know, all these waves came up, and there was no, you know,
no one was there to actually.
No one was there to make that, and you know,
the philosopher William Paley has a similar one where you're walking down the street and you kick a watch. You're not going to think, oh, that watch just came about through natural means. You're like, no, they're working with a type of purpose. You can tell that someone designed that. And created it.
And you know, I'm still kind of you know, I've been practicing for 5 years, and there's still a lot of things that I'm not certain about, you know? Like, I believe what I believe 100% because of what it's done for my life personally. I guess that could be where you could say faith comes in, you know? It's a personal relationship. It's worked wonders in my life. Like, I was a drug addict after I got out of the military. I struggled with anxiety and depression a lot, and I don't really have those struggles, not nearly as hard as I used to anymore, you know. I still have bad days, and you know, there's even times when I'm like, am I doing the right thing, you know, like, am I like going on the right path? But I just keep going at it every day, you know. It's a vow that I made, you know,
I said I was going to do these things as far as meditational practices, and I do it, and I see the
effects.
The effects, yeah. I see the results.
Just to clarify again, once again, correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned there are some things you're not certain about, but with Krishna, this was something that you're 100% certain about, to where you cannot be mistaken, because positive things have happened in your life.
Yeah, and like I said, it's usually just dealing with, I would love to say that like everybody that is involved in my faith are these what we call paramahamsas, which is like a swan like. But there's people that that are dealing with what is called a Sanskrit word called anartas, and that means unwanted things. And so you deal with people that have personality disorders, mental illnesses, narcissists, things like that. Those people exist in all walks of life. They exist in Christianity, Islam, everywhere.
Exactly.
And part of my my problem with Christianity was I was like, I really have a problem being around these people who do things in the name of God. And it's like, then I thought to myself, like, who am I? Like, who am I to say these things? Like, I struggle with these things sometimes too. I'm not perfect. And then I realized when I started practicing with the devotees, I said, I can't let what somebody else is doing affect my personal relationship with God. Like, just because there are individuals that are flawed and may not be like following, that doesn't mean that the philosophy or the religion is diminished because of that.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose that might be a good benchmark, but that's not always the case.
Yeah, it could be the case that they are bad people and the religion's still totally fine.
But
sense.
And here's a perspective. Here's a way of looking at it too. A temple, a church, a mosque, or whatever, it can be looked at as it's like a hospital. And there's sick people that are in the hospital, and they're trying to get better.
Exactly.
They're in the right
they're
place.
Not better.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I always say, well, at least they're trying. Like at least they're like giving it their A game type thing. So.
And just to go back real quick, you mentioned two things. You mentioned trust in the unknown, and you mentioned that you believe what you believe because it worked in your life.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go at these one at a time, but I feel like it's the same question for both. Do you think that someone could trust in something unknown and turns out that they're mistaken, or turns out that something doesn't happen? And do you think that it's also possible that someone can believe in something because they think it's working in their life, when it turns out that what they're believing in
like a placebo effect?
Yeah, or maybe not even. Or like, let's say someone believes that there's I don't want to get too absurd because I don't want to compare it to yours, but let's say someone believes that there's an alien that's helping them out in their life, and there isn't actually an alien, but all these good things are happening to them, so they have the confirmation of this belief in this alien that's helping them, and they're actually getting good stuff in them. So
if it works, I say, why not?
but even though it does work, do you think it's possible for someone to believe in something that works when in actuality that thing that they're believing in isn't true or doesn't exist?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with both of those, because you use both of those as reasons for you being 100%, if it's possible for someone to trust in the unknown and be mistaken, and if it's possible for someone to believe in something because it worked in their life and be mistaken about that belief, how have you determined that you are absolutely, positively not mistaken to put yourself at the 100%?
Again, because I feel like I'm in the hot seat now.
No, I don't like. And I mean, maybe a more appropriate way to rephrase it is: do you think that 100% is the most accurate position to put yourself on that scale?
For me, yeah, but I mean,
there's no way you could possibly be mistaken, even though trusting in the unknown can lead people to be mistaken, and believing in things because it worked in their life can lead people to be mistaken.
Say that again. Sorry.
Is 100% accuracy the position that you don't think that there's any way for you to be mistaken about this belief, because you are trusting in the unknown, even though people have trusted in the unknown in the past and have been mistaken, and you also believe it at 100% because it works in your life, even though people can believe in things that work in their life and be mistaken.
Right.
How is it that even though people can trust in the unknown and be mistaken, and believe in something because it's working and be mistaken, how have you come to the position where, even though you've used both of those where people could be mistaken, how have you come to your position where you can't be mistaken?
Again, I'm not going to say that I don't have doubts even being at like 100%, but it's never doubts in the actual faith or the philosophy. It's just doubts in myself as an individual. Like, am I going to be able to persevere? Am I going to be able to like continue on? Like that, the Vedas are timeless. The Vedas have been here forever, you know, and I'm you know, while my soul and our souls, they've been here forever, you know, my material body has only been here 34 years. So, you know, I'm still conditioned. I still have struggles. I still have things that I question, and that's actually a healthy position, you know. I don't doubt the philosophy at all, you know, like I believe what I believe, but, you know, there are days when, and like I was saying, it's usually the other people where it's like, you know, I have a hard time kind of dealing with them, and I'm like, am I doing the right thing? And then it's like, I just pick it back up again, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I am doing the right thing. And, you know, like, let's just say, like, you know, to kind of play like devil's advocate, let's just say, like, you know, what I did believe, let's just say it is false, you know, like what I'm doing
is having a huge impact.
It's yeah, you know, like I can't even like really put it into words, like how amazing like things have been for me. Like,
but if you can even conceive of the possibility of it being mistaken, how is it accurate to put yourself in a position where you're like, there is no way for you to be mistaken, if you've just said that you can think of a way where you could be mistaken, even though...
No, I'm just saying, like, you know, like, just kind of playing like devil's advocate, you know. I mean, I don't know. I don't really think there's any way to put like a numerical value on it. You know, it's just you know, we have good days, we have bad days, you know, and you just got to kind of like keep picking it up and going back at it again. I don't know. Like I
don't know is an awesome answer. Don't worry.
You know, I don't really.
I'll ask one more question, and then I'll let you get on your way. Thank you so much again, by the way, John, for the conversation. It was so fast. You left me with so many notes. Normally, I've got like half a page of notes.
Is this going to be like for something like...
So normally, we don't really put in public. This is something, I have a couple of friends of mine, Reed's one of them, where we're just super interested in philosophy and super interested in...
Are you guys at school?
I go to Cal State Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
He's no longer in school, but he's the video person, so he's... but he's also super interested. So that's why I was... When you came here, I was like, do you want to go first? Or so for us, we both enjoy the same conversations. But we have a couple of other friends that do the same thing, and for us, we're really interested in having conversations about deeply held beliefs in a way that's non-confrontational. So for us, one of the reasons we recorded is sometimes the conversations can go a little bit off, and we want to see how that happens so we can prevent that in the future. Because the beliefs that a lot of people have are very sensitive, and we want to be respectful of that and don't want to have any type of...
And here's the thing too, like I'm kind of like I kind of have like radical beliefs within my belief system, you know, like like I said, I'm vegan. I go to the temple and people say, you're supposed to drink milk. And I'm like, you know, if you get milk from cows that aren't being, you know, tortured and raped, it's like, I'll consider it.
I am more opposed to the systemic violence of another species than I am to fulfilling this ritual.
And, you know, there's nowhere in the Vedas that says that I can't do it, you know? And I'm also an actor. Now, many of the devotees have a real problem with that.
Really?
A real problem with
acting specifically, or?
So, you know, one of the major components of our faith is what they call, you know, Maya. It's the illusory energy of Krishna, which operates in tandem with Krishna, but it's largely believed, you know, that Maya is like almost like the Christian form of the devil. That's not true. It's not true. It's meant to serve as like a distraction from Krishna. It's like, are you going to choose to serve Krishna, or are you going to serve...
It gives you the free will type of a thing.
Correct. You know, so it's... but Maya, again, is also an incarnation of Krishna. You know, so it's like while you're serving Maya, you're still serving Krishna.
That makes sense.
You know, so...
it's a false choice.
So largely a lot of people believe that because I'm an actor that's Maya, because it's not, you're not focusing 100% of your efforts on serving Krishna. And I don't, you know, prescribe to that, but I've had a lot of people just like beat me up about that. You know, like they said, you know, you need to like live in the temple and, you know, shave your head and wear orange. It's like, I did that already, you know, and I want to get married and I want to have a family, and the gifts that I have been given are in the realm of performance. And so when, you know, I had the opportunity to come out here to Hollywood, I was like, I'm going to do it, you know, because I would like to have a family someday, and I would like to have children. And what better way to be able to support those family members doing something that you're good at with acting, and
it's something you're passionate about.
It's something I'm passionate about, something that I could potentially make a living at someday. So I see no like conflict with that, but I get an earful from a lot of people sometimes, so it's that's one of those days where I'm like, oh damn, am I really doing the right thing? Or like maybe I need to go and like do this and do that, and it's like
makes sense.
Some of those people are real hard lines, some of them are real understanding, and so
makes sense.
All
right, one last question.
Sure.
I'll let you get out of here just to kind of have a little bit more understanding with kind of where you're coming from. You mentioned you kind of grew up in an a-religious household, and there are other people that are out and about in this world that don't have any belief in a God whatsoever. Now, let's suppose for a second that they're correct, and there is no such thing as any type of God that anyone's ever talked about. There's no Krishna, there's no Christian God, there's no Allah, there's no any of that. Suppose that they are correct, but currently we live in this world where we have all of these people believing in these gods and all of this personal experience that's causing people to believe even deeper in these gods, and these books that they read that make them believe even more in these gods, when in actuality these gods don't exist at all. How would you go about discovering that the God that you believe in, that Krishna didn't actually exist? Would there be any way?
I don't know that I understand the question.
Okay, sorry. Suppose, and I'm not saying that they're right, but let's say that the people that don't believe in a God are correct, and there isn't a God, yet everyone currently has this really strong belief that there is a God. Like you mentioned, you're 100% that Krishna exists. Let's say that Krishna doesn't exist. I'm not saying it doesn't, but let's say Krishna doesn't exist. We live in a world where Krishna absolutely doesn't exist, but you're 100% believing that Krishna does exist because of your personal experience, because it's had these positive benefits in your life, because you're using faith to believe in this thing that absolutely doesn't exist. Would there be any way from this point forward until you died for you to discover that you were believing in something that wasn't true, or would you spend the rest of your life potentially believing in something that's not true?
I guess it would again all stem from like personal experience. Like we have wants and desires, and sometimes when those wants and desires aren't, like I was telling you, when they're not like manifested instantly, some people that would really like make them falter in their faith.
Would that do anything for you? Like, let's say you're at 100%. If you have this want and you put it out in the world and you expect this from Krishna and it doesn't happen, would that lower your confidence at all? Or because I heard you mention earlier that you're like, oh well, sometimes it doesn't happen in this life, it happens in another life. But if it were the case that there was no such thing as another life, there was no such thing as Krishna, and you put out into the universe and nothing happened, would you still go on believing? Like, would there be anything to lower you from that 100%?
Again, like I told you, I something that I've wanted to do is get married for a long time, and I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready, and it's not happening. I'm like, maybe it's not going to happen, and I definitely like struggle with like loneliness and isolation sometimes in that regard, because
we're social creatures.
We are social creatures, and we do, while it's important, at least for me, to have a spiritual relationship, I also like to have material relationships.
A human relationship.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I don't know. Like I've had some really bad days, and especially since coming to Los Angeles. Like, I'm in a kind of a chaotic living situation right now, and I'm like, I want to be out of this, like house. But it's not, it's not in my time. Like it is in Krishna's time. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a famous verse that Robert Oppenheimer recited. It says, "Time I am." And so, it's really not up to me or my understanding. I accept that it might not happen like right away.
Exactly.
And again, like I said, I'm not going to say that it's not difficult. There's been times in my life that I've been like, I don't know why. Like I don't know why. And this was like dealing with some of the senior leadership in our movement. I'm like, detach myself from a lot of the devotees sometimes. I'm still kind of like struggling like to, you know, I practice on my own, but like, you know, they encourage you to like be in
have
like
a community.
you know, and
But even as you mentioned that just because there's some bad apples, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Krishna. So even if you have these bad relationships with these people, that still doesn't seem like it'll lower you anywhere from the 100%. Is there anything that can happen that'll make you be like, you know what? Not even that I'm completely going to throw away all my beliefs, but just like, I'm not as confident in this anymore. Is there anything that would bring you from 100 to anything lower than that?
Well, that I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that question. I would hope not.
I think that's a great spot to end, John.
Hey,
thank you so much.
Hey, no problem.
I really appreciate it.
No,
thank you.
I do.
I love it.
I like being able to have these exchanges sometimes. You know, something too. Like I do like prescribe to other like philosophies. You know, Srila Prabhupada, who was like our founder of our movement in the West, like he said that like Aristotle was like a highly elevated like individual because, you know, of what he believed. There's this guy, this modern guy, his name's he does these YouTube videos. His name's like Prince Ea or something. You ever seen his videos?
No, I haven't. I'm gonna write him.
Oh
Prince
yeah,
EA or
EA. Yeah, he's got like all these really great like amazing ideas, and I'm like, why is this guy like, is he reading the Vedas? Like a lot of the ideas that he's talking about come from the Vedas, you know?
That's awesome.
George Orwell, I just watched something the other day where George Orwell was
another brilliant thinker.
You know, like he was talking about, you know, the government and how that, you know, if people are complacent and they let these things happen, then they're going to happen, you know. You know, so I take from like all schools of thought. Like I can believe, like I can see something that's in Christianity, or I can see something that's in Islam, or even in secular thought.
Like a Bruce Lee approach type of a thing, where you're taking all of the goods and coming up with your own life philosophy.
Prime example, you know, like Muhammad Ali, like whenever he was like, you know, so what do you want to do when you finish boxing? And he's like, you know, I just want to be the best servant that I can to God. And I was like, man, that's so incredible that he has like this celebrity status, and he's like this world-renowned athlete, and he's getting up there and just speaking with so much conviction. You know, I kind of hope that I would do the same thing, provided like, you know, if I ever
the material polls, you'd still be like, no, I'm still devoted.
Yeah, if I ever you know, become successful at what I'm doing, that I would still have the strength and conviction to be able to speak about what I believe in, you know. And you know, like I said, I'm flawed, I'm human. There are days where I'm just like, I don't know, you know, like I don't know what I'm doing.
That's the best answer you can
and then I just keep going at it, and I'm like, okay, well, let's just keep trying, and you know, let's see what happens, you know. But there's a guy. Oh, if you want to check out somebody, I think,
please.
His name's Radhanath Swami. You might have heard of him. It's Radhanath.
Let me make that more legible. Radha.
Nath. Swami. Yeah, and he's huge right now. He's like
on YouTube. He has like speaks.
Yeah, he has stuff on YouTube. Like he's big with all these celebrities like Billy Corgan and Russell Brand.
Oh,
and,
I'm huge on Russell Brand. Very nice.
Yeah, and who else? Forrest Whitaker goes and sees him talk. So yeah, he's way more articulate and intelligent about this subject matter.
That's awesome.
I try to be, and I'm still working on it.
I mean, we're all on that journey. So
sometimes I get like questions where I'm just like, wow, that's a really good question.
I gotta think about that.
I'm stumped, you know. So, but if you ever are interested, like he has a really simple and
concise way.
Way of talking about these things. So
John.
So,
thank you so much.
No problem.
Pleasure.
Is this going to be like on YouTube?
So that's really up to him. Normally we have it on an unlisted private thing, just for the friends of us that we share the link to.
Yeah.
If there's any, I mean, if
possible.
What would it be under?
I can give you my Twitter handle. And
sure.
And then because the other thing is we can send this to you, that way you can rewatch it and share it with people.
Yeah.
If you want to give it.
Sure.
And so this is like for a graduate?
No, this is literally this is nothing academic whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
We kind of describe it as a hobby.
Okay, cool.
But I mean, really, for us, we're really just interested in stopping people and having really just sit for 5 minutes and just think about something that they truly believe in and just go through it again. And because the one thing that we see is, especially in LA, in a busy city like this, not a lot of people have the opportunity to really articulate the thoughts that they have or the beliefs that they have.
Yeah.
So to just be able to get someone sit down for 5 minutes and really think deeply about something they believe in, I think is an awesome thing to get people to do. So.
And you know, like even further, like all this political madness that's going on right now. Like I used to be heavily like involved in the political realm.
Okay,
and,
I'm studying political science. So.
So I mean, I still lean pretty much to the left, but like I feel like the options that they're giving us now, I'm just kind of like,
exactly.
What's the point, you know, like, but
cyanide or anthrax.
Well, yeah, you know, and it's like I kind of wish that we would get away from this current like political system where it's basically a plutocracy, and you know, actually, you know, try to, you know, I feel like Bernie Sanders is trying to like meet the needs of the people, and just based on his voting record, he was like a true like warrior for like social justice and equality. You know, like just, I mean, that's another thing. You know, like somebody's actions, like that tells what kind of character.
Exactly. You can tell the fruits of there.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
That's incredible.
All right, guys.
Hey, it was a pleasure.
Take care.
You have a great day, man.
Appreciate
Take care.
it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.